Live from TVN headquarters, it's the Never Stop Chasing Show with Reed Timmer, Ray Johnson, and Dick McGowan.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on the Never Stop Chasing Show. Tonight's guest is Rick Thomas over here, and you guys know this guy. His name is Reed Timmer. So Rick, how did you and Reed meet?
First of all, what did you just say about the Never Stop Chasing name? You think it's cute?
Yeah, I think it's cute, yeah.
You think it's edgy enough?
I mean, I don't know if edgy is a word I use. It's good.
I mean, we're clearly the bad boys of storm chasing, so you think we should
really? Is
that
what you're rolling with? The bad boys?
He used to be one of the bad boys. Well, it's Shark Week.
Freaks or bad boys, whatever.
Chris used to be one of the bad boys. Rick used to be one of the bad boys of storm chasing back in the day. We met Rick freshman year. We were both meteorology students at the University of Oklahoma. Rick was from Delaware. I was from Michigan. We had just gone through, that's what we became, we were pretty young.
No fear of death, I think is what the key was.
Yeah,
no appreciation for life yet. We're just kids.
When you first met him, what'd you initially think of him? Were you like, this guy a freak or?
Careful.
That's what most people thought. But like I met him, we lived in the same dorm tower. And so we just kind of, we were meteorologists, we were in all the same classes. And
what'd you think of him like when you first met him though?
Things would calm down.
Pretty intense guy, wasn't
Tell
he?
about the first time we were in the dorms. Everybody all went out, and then.
Yeah, we were trying to go to some party. That was probably my first Reed experience. We're trying to go to some party. It was it was miles away. It was 2 miles, a 2-mile walk or something. Yeah, we were trying to walk there because we were, didn't have cars. We were freshmen, and finally we just ended up giving up because it's just too far away. And Reed was just not gonna have any of it. And Reed's out 100 yards ahead of everybody, just screaming and yelling at everybody because we didn't want to go. And we're going to this.
So he was just as intense back then.
He was very intense. I thought I was surprised about the level of intensity.
That's a lot like how kind of I was operating, and then Joel would kind of be doing the same thing during the last 4 years of chasing, where it was we're doing a show on storm chasing. I would chase anyway, but then Joel wants to sit in his back porch and drink lemonade.
Yeah.
So are you going to come back?
Is that good? Do you feel like that's a good? Do you feel like it's good to have someone to hold you? What if there were two people who were just? You'd prefer just all balls out, just all.
Oh, what it erupted! Before when we first, before the show started, if Joel didn't feel like driving to the Arrowhead of Minnesota for a 2% risk, he would stay at home, and I'd go solo, and everything was fine. But when we did the show on Discovery, Joel had to be there. So if I wanted to go to the Arrowhead of Minnesota, he had to go. So then it turned out him, being pissed at me all the time, and I just wanted to chase everything, and I would anyway. I have the whole time. It wasn't like Discovery was anything new, but then I think that whole thing, should we chase or not? The argument about not chasing or chasing is, I'm always open to discussing different target areas, but if
bottom line, you're chasing. It's just a matter of where.
So this year proved, we had all our intercepts, or most of them, or 2 of them were on 2% tornado risk days. We 2%. Divide County was 2%.
It was 5.
We looked it up. Guys, would you guys mind? We had this argument last night, and we didn't come to resolution.
May 22nd was 5%.
It's 2%.
Divide County.
Maybe a listener can help.
All right, guys, if you could help out, on Twitter, Reed Timmer TVN is the Twitter name. If you guys could look up in the Storm Prediction Center archives, you can go to the storm reports and then change the date in the bottom to May 22nd, 2012. It's episode 8 this year in Tornado Chasers. And see if the Storm Prediction Center had a 2% risk out or a 5%. Dick thinks 5%, but I'm 99.99% sure it's 2. Rick? Were you following?
I probably wasn't paying
wasn't the news.
attention.
Also, you can submit your questions through the chat and Reed's Twitter as well.
The morning of it was a 2. We were driving up there all night.
It was 5 days to shoot a tornado watch, I remember.
In the morning of with that 2%, that was a situation where Joel would have had me drop him off in an airport in Omaha and he would have flown back and we would have driven 3%.
Has that happened before? Did you drop
We dropped him off at a rental car facility. I don't want to force anybody to be there if they don't want to be. So but they get even more pissed when you say, well, okay, we'll bring you to a rental car place so you can go, because they want the whole team to either go home or Joel wouldn't want to be at home and we go out and chase and see something, but it was more because he didn't want to be embarrassed on TV. But we didn't miss that St. Louis tornado either, by the way. Just so you know. That one on April 22nd last year, right? 2011. Yeah.
Has Joel been a guest on the podcast yet?
Yeah. It was good. It was good having Joel.
So tell us
I feel
about.
like it's fun to throw him under the bus.
All right, he says here there was a 5% by the 11:30 a.m. outlook. So at 8 in the morning, it was 2%. And all the SBC chasers would go by that. For a North Dakota chase, you have to go.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all. That's 5% up there is like a 15 and a half.
But was it 5% in Northwest North Dakota? Thanks, Connor King, by the way. Is it CI chase? CL chase.
So Rick, you were with Reed on May 3rd, 1999.
Yeah, that was my first tornado. I think it was Reed's second. He went saw that one in
May 3rd or something.
Is there another one?
Remember Ty Judd and I went down. Ty Judd and I went down and saw that one. I don't have. It's the only tornado I don't have video of, but it was the same storm system as May 3rd.
I wouldn't believe anything that happened surrounding Ty Judd's.
I was with Ty. But yeah, it was May 2nd, 99.
We'll just tell everybody we saw a tornado. And Ty Judd is sort of infamous for not being honest about certain things.
Should we start uploading fake videos that we've never done before? Be like, check out this wedge I saw. Like, everyone would go crazy, but yeah.
No, I think it's better to go like far away, see a tornado. There's probably not 500 storm chasers there looking at it.
Yeah,
I think when I go chasing, I don't go chasing that much anymore, but I just like to kind of be by myself or, just a few people around as opposed to the whole circus that's kind of out there now. So,
May 3rd, 99,
that would be a motivation for me.
We were in exams, remember? And the morning of it, they had a moderate risk out, I believe, and the plan was to I had a calculus exam, so we couldn't leave till 3. I got in there, took the exam. I was moving real fast through it. I knew exactly what I needed to get a certain grade. And got out of there and sprinted actually rollerbladed. I used to rollerblade everywhere, full speed, like
I remember.
Arm tucked behind. But that one time we were going down the South Oval, which is the main drag at University of Oklahoma, and I'd always speed skate to class, just full speed. Coming from Michigan, it's a lot of times how I get around. And there's a little piece of styrofoam, and I used to wear khaki pants, khaki shorts, and actually navy blue T-shirts, believe it or not. Not navy, but baby blue. And it's because I didn't know how to do laundry very well, so all my whites I put in with that blue towel, remember? All my whites.
Yeah.
So I had the matching blue socks and blue T-shirts I wore. I was going full speed and hit this little piece of styrofoam and went flying through the air, like probably going 30 miles an hour, landed on my knees and slid like 10 feet, ripped my pants to shreds. There's blood everywhere. And there's like 1,000 people all lined up on the oval. All just
South Oval.
Sitting there clapping. I'm rolling around on the ground, rolling around the ground. The fun boys.
Piece of styrofoam?
Yeah, I just hit my wheel, so the wheel just stopped.
The rollerblades, I would borrow them every once in a while. It didn't take much. There'd be like a little cord going across the street. You just
takes a lot of skill. You just have to kind of hurdle it a little bit. But
did you ever get? I got a football player do one of these at me once. Almost fell over. Kind of did the stumble. It's really embarrassing.
But yeah, May 3rd, 99.
So you're injured already to start the day.
We go on tangents a lot, but
didn't it start out as a slight risk that day?
It may have started slight,
and
then they just kept escalating it.
I think they were expecting a squall line.
Well, they were expecting supercells back along the dry line, like from Eltis south. And so a lot of people went way west, but because we got out of the exam late, we're heading southwest on 44, and these are different times. We had 5 freshmen packed in a soft top geo-tracker with just a paper map. Didn't know anything.
Including Harold. Harold was one of the people.
Yeah. Harold's one of our great friends from college, and he got his PhD, and he's working at
Where is Harold? Is he still around?
They had a child actually.
Really?
Yep, and he's at University of Alabama Huntsville. But Harold had a mullet. And he'd wear a T-shirt with a pocket on it every day of the week, and he'd alternate colors, solid colored pocket T-shirts.
Like 3 T-shirts.
Red, then blue, and then white. And
the slicker, the slicker.
But great guy. And yeah, he used to wear a rain slicker all the time. And then one time, he was walking around in his rain slicker because he walked to Oklahoma City and back. Like, he'd do these crazy physical challenges. He's running.
Yeah, he would just, be 100 degrees outside. He'd be walking around in a slicker with jeans on.
He's like a national champion bird watcher, too. What? And but he was walking around outside with a slicker and he got pulled over by the cops. And Harold's the most harmless guy. He had a mullet, just like kind of had this a little mustache back then. And Harold's like, no, I'm not just walking around, and it's like midnight. Didn't drink or anything, ever. And the guy's like, can we see if you have anything underneath that slicker? Because they had a report of some guy that was exposing himself or something.
Because he wouldn't do it.
So Harold's like, yeah, have clothes on.
He wouldn't wear it in the rain. He would just wear it like it was just...
Well, that's what's great about meteorology is you get all these interesting characters, and I love hanging. I mean, it makes life interesting, and Harold became one of our best friends. But he was there on May 3rd, and
Matt Sanis.
Describe the experience, buddy.
Yeah. This is the first time he tried to get
How's
you
the
killed,
apple?
right?
Where should I start? I mean, should I start when you were chasing the tornado on foot? My feelings about that moment.
All right. So I'd say just before the overpass.
Okay.
Because we were going southwest on 44, and the storm fired way east on a horizontal convective roll. And you get these in like slightly capped environments where you get heating, and you get rising motion. It'll rise above the cap, become less than neutrally buoyant, and then go down. So you get all these little rotating tubes. And those can be the focus of thunderstorm initiation when the cap is weak enough. And on that day, the storm fired on a horizontal convective roll. And you need a little capping, to get, I think, good low-level wind shear. So.
No, I remember there was a warning, and so we started chasing that storm, and then it really started breaking up. I remember being pretty disheartened when that happened. I just thought, that's another, because I hadn't seen a tornado yet. So
we had Hurricane Floyd after that. Will be another story.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure.
Sorry, we'll keep staying on task.
So I was just, okay, this is another storm chase, we got overexcited about, whatever. And then there's another warning, and which, this is, we finally see a tornado.
Sorry, may I interrupt you real quick? May I be excused? I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I just have I'm OCD in my...
Anyways,
right back.
Go ahead.
All right, so...
Awkward moment here.
Need high fructose corn syrup and
So
caffeine.
back to May 3rd, 99. I saw your first tornado here.
So we finally see a tornado, and I think it was just... it was just like a little... I think it was like a white, gray... it was a nice-looking storm off in the distance. I thought it was amazing just seeing a little tornado 5 miles away.
Your high-pitched squeals, too.
Yeah, I'm
let
sure.
us know you were excited. But I had the camera. I was always shooting, being steady. So I handed it over to Rick. So I could enjoy it. So we weren't sure who was going to be a shooter. We had this little VHS-C camera. I handed it over to Rick, and he's watching the storm, but just...
Yeah, I did not want to film it because I felt like it took away from the experience.
Yeah.
And so I
have all that footage.
Held it there. It's awful. We brought it back, and I thought Reed was so ashamed of me.
No, it was before this stuff really got,
Did he get after
I felt
you?
really bad, but at the same time, I didn't want to I wanted to see the thing.
You want to remember it
you out?
through your own eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't kick anybody out back then. Dude, never kick anybody out.
No.
I'm not the guy they portray on television, am I?
How do they portray you on television?
You kick Joel out of TV, like this argumentative, like spaz. Not a spaz sometimes, but pretty calm, sometimes too, right?
No, I think you're very loyal to your team.
Yeah.
Remember that on the Lisa show? I remember that was about all you got out of the Lisa show. you got to give your storm team a shout out.
Negative, yeah. But anyway, May 3rd.
All right, yeah. So, so there was the first tornado, and that kind of lifted, and I didn't really understand how these things cycled and everything at the time. So I thought once that thing lifted, I thought maybe our day was over.
Which way are you looking here? Are you
looking west?
West?
Northwest at the.
The
first one was near Cyril, Oklahoma.
Yeah. And then it started. And it started reforming, and that was probably one of the most dramatic moments when we're watching it reorganize. We're up on this hill, and we're on this dirt road or mud at that point, and we see the Dopplers over here, and you can the way it's swirling, you knew something big was about to happen, and that's one of the moments that really sticks in my mind about it, and from that point on. There was a tornado, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until finally it just looked like it didn't look like something that the natural world could produce. Like, I don't even know how to describe
I
it.
agree with that too. Tornadoes and supercells are like a living, breathing organism. It's so organized. Like
Yeah.
the air that we're living and breathing in right now, it's incredible that with certain ingredients, you can just get this entity that is surrounded by clear air.
It looked like something had just come down from space and was just
Yeah. It doesn't seem
humming
real
along.
a lot of the
No,
time.
it really
seems like it's something out of a
really
movie.
didn't, which is probably why we kept driving closer and closer to it.
So being a conspiracy theorist, are you saying that aliens are harvesting tornadoes for energy? Those
a
little
chance.
orbs that fly around?
You can't. I mean, I don't think we can rule that out.
And we'll talk more about Rick's conspiracies a little later. Some of them a little later on. But
Yeah, there's a lot of hot button subjects there. We probably should delve too
yeah,
deeply.
keep going, buddy.
So we're just watching this amazing thing. At a certain point, like my shock was just, I mean, I couldn't be any more surprised and impressed and amazed. And we start noticing like insulation falling on the car. There's all sorts of, house materials. And so that was a pretty eerie feeling. We saw some damage, and then we kind of, I mean, it's not very hilly, but it seemed like we lost the tornado a little bit behind.
Down in that gully
kind
of
of
the
a-
trees.
Yeah.
Barely made it through the dirt and the mud and the geo-tracker, and then took a Larry. We lost track
Where were you
of
guys
the-
at?
We were down near Bridge Creek area, but we lost track of where the tornado was going through this mud, and our map was useless, so we were just kind of going down the grid, and we took a left and came underneath this overpass, came out in the clear, we looked to the left and see this monster F5 tornado coming at us. It had a radio tower flying through there, and I remember it was before the research came out that overpasses are bad to get underneath, and so I remember the first instinct was, we gotta get banned in the vehicle and run to this overpass. I don't know,
that was
did
like
you plant that seed or
I think that was just like our collective mind that pulled us over. Yeah, it was just
We
like
just kept driving.
overpass.
But in
because
hindsight-
there was that famous video of the people under the overpass, remember?
Yeah.
And so I think that was sort of embedded in our heads.
But if we would have kept going, I think we would have possibly gotten hit by it, because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
ended up curving to the left and just missing. But we abandoned the vehicle and run.
I mean, it's
full
hard.
speed
It's
to the
hard. It's
overpass.
hard to tell when it's something that big and you've never experienced it before. I mean, it's really hard to tell where it's going. You didn't really want to take any chances. So
We're
yes,
mesmerized by it. A
right.
tornado is.
Yeah.
It's a dichotomy there because they're destructive. They cause this huge loss of life. They're feared by a lot of people, rightfully so. But when you're in person looking at that thing, it's like you're mesmerized by it. And you don't think in your mind this thing could kill me. You're like, whoa, it looks
Yeah,
amazing.
it's just you're kind of just frozen in the moment there. And so we get underneath the overpass, and I was fully expecting the tornado to come right over that overpass. I mean,
Me too.
And so,
coming
we're
right
just waiting.
I was shirtless at that point, I think, too. 'Cause- oh, no, we got
Yeah,
covered in mud.
Reed was naked from the waist up.
No, what happened is it was at the end of freshman year. I didn't have any money, so I couldn't afford a haircut. So my hair was all this long, and as a bet, I put Sun in there one day and turned it bright red. And I didn't take showers back then. And I wore the same shirt for a month.
You don't take showers now, do you?
I like natural pheromones, but so I had this plaid button shirt. And was wearing that. Remember, it didn't smell too good, but eventually I think there was mud on it or ripped the button or something, then just whoosh, just came off.
We're using it for the camera, keep the camera clear.
Oh, that's right. We took it.
Yeah.
Was that why we took it off? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I never changed
Are we
shirtless
trying to sell you shirtless? Is that what we're doing here?
It's like a 14-year-old back then. Anyway, I was late bloomer.
So
But no, now I atrophy because no tomorrow.
So you're on top of this overpass. What's happening?
Yeah.
What's
So
going through your mind?
we're underneath, and basically we're just waiting for the tornado to hit us. Matt's car is down there, the little geo tracker, and I think Reed says bye to the geo or something like that. I mean, we're just waiting for this thing to come. We're sure, and
And if you guys want to see the video real quick while you're watching it, you can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/tornadovideos.net, tornadovideos.net, but dot spelled out, and search May 3rd, 99, and you'll find the video. You'll see the tracker. You'll hear Rick's high-pitched squeal.
And if you're ever in that situation that's not
cheesy
where you want to be,
references.
under an overpass.
And just keep in mind, don't get underneath overpasses if you're trapped underneath there. They act as a wind tunnel and accelerate the wind, and can even be more dangerous than being out in the open. But of course,
How fast do you think the winds were, like in the with that acceleration?
When we got up in the overpass.
Or how fast do you think theoretically that would have been in that
We could calculate
underpass?
it.
Didn't they measure it?
Did they?
Well, the winds that we were experiencing through the overpass must have been at least 100. I mean,
But the actual
Maybe
tornado,
more.
didn't they?
yeah, there were 3. There was at F5 intensity then, and they measured a 309 mile per hour wind with a Doppler on
Slightly
wheels,
above the surface.
and that's further away, and that's slightly above the surface. But that doesn't mean that it weakens near the ground because of friction. Because some of the theories out there show that friction basically causes the single vortex to break into multiple suction vortices. You'll see the multiple vortex tornadoes, which some of the theory will show that winds could be 400 or 500 miles per hour in those suction vortices. And one blew out our window in 2009.
I remember that. It was
Remember
pretty
going up into that overpass, that family that was clinging in there, just freaking out?
I remember that. I was just standing there, and Reed kind of was trying to get down towards the road.
I was sliding down.
What? Yeah,
Help!
yeah, Reed asked for help at some point. I don't
Looked
know
up
what.
and just look at,
I
help!
don't know what kind of help he could have provided at that point. Throw a so we're just kind of watching Reed, watching the tornado, wondering about Reed. And then Reed, once it seemed like the tornado had safely passed, Reed just handed me the camera and took off.
I looked at you with some crazy eyes.
I'd never seen this look before. And Reed just hands me the camera and goes, videotape this. And he takes off running. So at that point, I thought in my head, Reed wanted me to film his death. Like, I literally thought that. Because he's running at the tornado. And I didn't understand why.
It just felt like the right thing to do. I wasn't thinking clearly, obviously.
And so Reed runs after it, and I had no idea what. So I run after him, thinking I might have to pull him back from jumping in the. I didn't know what was going on.
Tackle? Yeah, you tackle me. We used to play a lot of football back in the day. Rick is a pretty athletic guy. I'm pretty average, I would say. And there's been several times where we played we're in Oklahoma, so everybody plays tackle football here. We play full offensive lines and everything, and Rick was a force.
Sometimes.
And the guy just lit me up over and over again. I mean, you would have gotten probably a couple penalties for that, but
I wish we had that one incident.
I have
film.
a permanent shoulder problem, rotator cuff problem, permanent knee problems, all because of Rick, just from getting lit up.
Also, you got really mad at me that one time. I remember we were playing
touch football. And I didn't.
Yeah, we were playing touch, and I guess it was a little too rough on the touch, and Reed fell. He got really mad.
That's why I hurt my shoulder. So
That's like his shoulder.
Speed.
Yeah, and I knew he was just coming to tackle me, and so I spun out of it. I
Right.
I spun out of it. That's exactly what I knew was going to happen. It's what happened. I spun out of it.
Some classic spin.
No, remember? Because I spun out of it, and I ran into the end zone.
Such detail.
Because it was awesome.
Ran into the end zone.
Awesome.
Yeah, right.
I did, and then
I think I was.
No. So Reed tries to plow me over. I spin off it. I run in the end zone, and we're playing two-hand touch, right? And so I'm like, well, whatever. I scored a touchdown. And Reed's like, no, I got you with my arms here. So Reed, not only did he try and run me over.
There, and
now you're agreeing that this actually happened.
I tapped up. You didn't definitely score a touchdown by rule, but.
Well, by rule, you're trying to make it seem like you took me out, but that wasn't. You just.
I probably did take you out. You just waited until you got home. But hey, guys, if you want to submit any questions, you can on our Twitter account. It's Reed Timmer TVN. We've got Storm Picks here and Rick's Twitter. Should just add it and just start hammering him with tweets. But his is 858 to go. And so after May 3rd,
we're still open. We're still open at 858 to go right now. They can get an order if they want.
Yeah.
They're local.
Rick's in the food delivery business, and one of the smartest guys I know. He was in meteorology, was going through the degree, had a 4.0 grade point average, and then decided, you know what, this isn't for me. Moved out to Delaware, did the food delivery business out there. The kind of you can
delivered newspapers.
You can get Chili's, you can get anything. And he actually won an award, the National Food Delivery Person of the Year award. Remember that award that you won?
No, that didn't actually.
You emailed me an award that you
won.
No,
I emailed you. We did a little advertising piece for a local paper.
Yeah.
It was not that I wasn't the best time of my life, probably. Wasn't my proudest moment.
Body painting, getting thrown out of the basketball games, the OU games. Rick and I used to also paint with a team of 10 people. We'd paint our whole bodies. We
No, we were really the only two that did that. There was a Kelvin's crew.
created our own. But then the assistant athletic director reached out to us because we were just loose cannons. I wore this hat with a number one dad thing on it, like whatever, painted the whole body. We got.
I wish we
feeling
could
good
have.
when we
I wish
went
we could,
there.
because all this stuff is on video. I wish there was a way
It
we
is.
could
I
just
have
like
it.
show it up.
We have it over at the production house. They're going through
So
it.
Hurricane Floyd. Okay. Let's talk
Are
about
we
Hurricane
off topic?
In the end, though, Rick and I got thrown out of 3 basketball games. One because of Bobby Knight, because Rick dressed up like Bobby Knight. And
That was
he
the best
started
one.
beating
That was
me,
amazing.
And Bobby Knight was on the
Bobby Knight
thing.
was like where you are to
Don't
us.
say why that happened, but something happened. I gave it was a gesture of positivity.
Yeah, Reed made a.
Real bad.
Who's
Right
that?
at like 10
Who's
feet
that
away.
bowler? Pete
10 feet
Weber. If anybody's ever seen the gestures that Pete Weber likes to make when he's.
Yeah, that was cool, probably.
People
But
know
then
who that is. People
suddenly
know.
the game stops. Like Bobby Knight talked to somebody. The game stops, and I'm looking all around, and there are security guards coming from all different directions.
There's like 15 of them.
They threw me out. And I was like, he's with me, take it too. So I got Rick thrown out too.
Nice guy you were.
But the whole crowd was booing, so we had the whole OU crowd was on our side, and
we had
televising it. And anybody
we
used to go to
were
OU
passionate.
games.
Yeah, they knew who we were.
But after that, we had the athletic director called us and gave us free tickets down there. But he gave us some ideas. He was like, maybe you guys could put a fence out there, and for defense, you could jump on the fence, and for offense, you could jump off.
Like offense.
Okay. The defense, that makes no sense,
there's a
that
good
was-
story about Hurricane Floyd here.
Yeah, so
right,
Hurricane
Hurricane
Floyd,
Floyd.
he'll segue in, but we were sharing my car, my Mercury Topaz 91. We were all roommates, me, Rick, a couple other guys. And this is our first hurricane. I'd been on Lisa Gibbons' show the year before. For 99.
This links up with May 3rd because this May 3rd, our video from underneath this overpass, it made the rounds, I guess. And Reed started going on
Real TV.
and saying some, Mother Nature went medieval on it. He
I
started
had
saying,
no idea there was a storm chasing community in that.
Reed, the TV star, was born in that.
That was bad. The
Yeah,
monster
it was.
born.
He was born. He was born in that moment.
And then he died again 2 or 3 years ago. But he was reborn the other day. He's back.
Really?
Yeah, we're going back to just all 2007 and prior ideals now.
Okay.
I'm a natural bottom feeder anyway, so this network supports corporate sponsors. I mean,
So are we erasing the discovery period?
well, what we need you to do is crop, harvest another crop in the backyard.
Get back in there with
Sustenance
some chickens and a greenhouse and some bees.
But yeah, we'll get to the Hurricane Floyd thing in a second. But Rick, we were all roommates again, year 2007. And Rick, I think, in my opinion, kind of lost it. He started getting into this Paleolithic diet stuff. Then, he thought he was trying to be like the cavemen days, and said that one massive meal of lard, animal lard, and meat was all he needed every day. Lost, weighed 150 pounds. Got a tattoo of a tree in his back. A tree.
I was
still have
ripped
it, the
up
whole
though.
tree.
I was ripped up.
You were.
It was a good. I was.
But he
pretty
grew a
happy.
farm in our backyard, so we
Yeah,
had a
it was
greenhouse, huge greenhouse that was growing all kinds of great. You had okra. He had this okra crop that was 12 feet tall, and then you got chickens. So we had a whole chicken
Chickens
coop
were
back there,
awesome.
and we're in
Those
college
chickens.
suburbia here, okay? And it's got chicken. And we're renting this place. The whole thing was turned into a massive farm because Rick wanted to live off the farm organically. And one time I woke up, the house smelled like burning dirt. And I was like, what's going on in here? It was noon. And I come out and Rick was like, oh, I'm just cooking my dirt here in the oven in our pots and pans. Because he needed to get the temperature of the dirt up above 500 degrees to kill a fungus.
Yeah, I had to kill this fungus.
So there's all this dirt.
I had to.
But yeah, so Hurricane Floyd. What do
It
you
was
think?
perfectly reasonable.
Is Hurricane Floyd why you stopped chasing, you think? Because I remember Rick looking at me, he's like, this is the last time I'm doing one of your crazy adventures, I know. But
I think. Hurricane Floyd. Yeah, so Reed was on the Lisa Gibbons show, and they a couple months later, Hurricane Floyd was happening. They offered to pay to fly us out to North Carolina to chase this hurricane, and so we're really excited. Fly out there, and Or where did we land? Charlotte or something
Yeah,
like
we
that?
landed in Charlotte, and they had a rental car reserved for us. Lisa did, and we thought it was going to be this nice, smooth chase. We land, and at 19 or 20 years old, we realized that we were too young to rent a car in Charlotte.
Could not figure out a way to finagle the car from any of
Found
the
a
rental car
hotel,
dealerships.
and everything was getting evacuated, and we did find a Dunkin' Donuts, so we ate at. Remember that? The Dunkin' Donuts?
It got pretty blurry at that point because we'd been up all night. It was about 5 a.m. We're trying to argue with these rental car people, and so we take a
They
taxi.
wouldn't give us a rental car.
We just decide, okay, we're gonna go to Wilmington, North Carolina.
From Charlotte.
We're just guessing that this is where the hurricane's gonna hit, and so we take a cab to Wilmington.
Hey, Matt, Rick is drinking apple juice right now.
He's in there.
Yeah, okay.
This is Mott's.
Yeah.
Mott's brand.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get it.
But anyway, yeah, so we get a taxi out there. We're driving against the grain. There's a line of cars going the other way, and we're the only car going down. The taxi driver couldn't speak English. We had trouble communicating. I could tell the guy was scared to death.
He was terrified. That dude was terrified.
And we got to Wilmington. We got to a hotel.
Got to a hotel, and Reed's checking in, and I'm just exhausted at this point. I mean, it's the next day. It hadn't slept at all. It's probably about 9 or 10 in the morning, and so I just sort of collapse on one of the chairs, in the waiting area, and about 5 minutes later, Reed approaches me with a large man named Ernest. Large African American man, named was it Ernest?
Ernest. One of the best guys I've ever met. Just a purely.
I mean, he wasn't intimidating, but he was definitely large, But
he's like
he
6'8", I think.
He's a huge guy, very nice guy. But Reed says, "Hey, great news! Ernest is going to let us stay in his mobile home." And
we couldn't get close to the coast because we didn't have a car, so we needed to find something to cover the storm. We had never covered a hurricane before. So we hop in the back of Ernest's truck, and he didn't have room in his passenger seat, so Rick and I are in the back of this truck, and there was trash everywhere, lots of trash. We're just kind of nestled in there. It was comfortable, actually, out there.
Yeah, there was so much trash. Yeah, it was comfortable. And the truck smelled like old trash, basically. It was not a good smell.
It smelled normal to me. It smelled like our house, actually, a little bit.
It smelled like your dorm room.
Okay. Maybe that's me that smelled like that. But yeah, so we get to his mobile home. It's right on the coast, mandatory evacuated area. Ernest was going to take his whole family out and then put them in the hotel that we were checking into. And we said, hey, we'll shoot this storm from your mobile home. And we didn't have a car, so he left. He was going through his refrigerator. And he said, we got bologna, and there was like 3 slices of bologna left. We've got milk. And he's like, we got bread. It's like, if you guys go hungry here, you got some problems.
It's your own fault. Yeah.
So we had to ration that, but great guy. I mean, and the windows weren't taped yet. His son came out. His son was like probably 12 years old, but the guy was still 6'8".
Monster.
Like, I guarantee you, he's got.
It's probably Calvin Johnson, that guy.
Could be, yeah. But they're great, nicest, most trusting people I've ever met, and we stayed there. They left us, and then reality sunk in when we're watching the television. They're saying there could be a Category 4 hurricane coming straight for us, and they're like on the news, if you're in a mobile home in these areas, you should not be there. And we were there.
All these tornado warnings.
No car, no cell phone. Power's about to go out. All we had was this television that we're watching the updates on and a little video camera.
It was a lot of rain too. I remember. I mean, it was just raining.
Tornado warning after tornado warning.
Yeah, there were a lot of tornado warnings. I remember too.
One thing about tropical cyclones is you have these really low clouds that just rip really fast. They look like a low-level jet, and you look up and you can see the shear. They're all going in different directions, and it's very easy to see that in the outer bands of those tropical cyclones. You could get tornado-producing storms. That's what happens a lot. Hurricane Ivan, for example, produced over 100 tornadoes. And Hurricane Isaac, we recently chased, had a lot of tropical cyclone tornadoes coming in. And we had a lot of those at Hurricane Floyd. And we lost power. The whole parking garage was surrounded by about 3 feet of water. Rick was freaking out.
Parking garage?
Mobile home, yeah.
Okay.
Isaac was the parking garage. This is worse. The mobile home. Remember in the wind?
I wish we were in a parking garage.
Well, we're in the middle of nowhere. A little bit of a rise, though, like a hill. So all the other mobile homes were underwater.
What were you guys even thinking? Like a mobile home during a freaking hurricane?
It's the optimism that came in. I was more optimistic back then than before, and it got ourselves in some bad spots. But
It's like almost you guys had like a
I had
death
no
wish
change,
back
no
then.
change in
I
clothes, anything.
think that was part of it. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it.
The power went out, the whole mobile home's shaking, all the windows blow out, even though we taped them, and there's this fish aquarium in the mobile home, and as the the mobile home was going back and forth, the water is sloshing in the fish tank, and Rick has covered himself with mattresses and everything. He's like, "This is the last time I'm doing this." And I
really wanted to. I was really upset. I was really upset with that at that moment because the roof sounded like it was going to fly off at any second. The video doesn't do it justice as to what it sounded like in there. I mean, it sounded like we were done for, and thankfully,
so loud. That wind.
thankfully the storm it sort of died out as it hit. Because if it had kept up that intensity, we might.
No, we would have survived. I would have killed some snakes we could have eaten and swam out of there. I mean, Katrina,
If that, I don't know, if that roof had flown off, it would have just been a much more miserable.
we had the mattresses and everything, though. I mean, and getting underwater was a big problem, like the storm surge. But in the end, the next morning, we're waiting there. The hurricane had been gone. It was afternoon. It was sunny, and Ernest didn't show up yet. And we're like, is this guy ever coming back? And we both had political science exams, and he didn't come back as early as we thought. We missed our return flight, and I actually had to drop that class, my political science class, and I ended up taking it senior year.
Yeah, I think I dropped the class too. Oh yeah, I remember that class. It was awful. Class was awful.
So you guys want to talk about the upcoming severe weather tomorrow? See what's going on with that?
I was looking at it. It looks like there's a lot of cape, but kind of a skinny cap area. If you guys go to twisterdata.com, that's our model site that we use, and some grad student friends of mine, when I was working with them in the older version of tornadovideos.net, they actually built this whole site, this model site, and they're chasers, and they want to develop a chaser-friendly model site, and so this is one that we use. We've got a massive trough coming in. I mean, gigantic trough. There's a lot of cold air aloft associated with it. And this time of year, when you get this much cold air aloft, there's a lot of chasers out there that say, if there's not more than 3,000 cape, I'm not chasing. But I'll tell you what, I'd miss 70% of my tornadoes if I would have gone by that mindset.
But there's also a warm nose at 850. There's a strong capping tomorrow too.
Looks like an outbreak to me.
Looks like an outbreak tomorrow.
Outbreak?
I'm just kidding.
Speaking of outbreaks,
Not this time. Not this time.
what you weren't here last week, so let's hear your side of the story. Of what happened?
What is that smell?
2 weekends ago?
Did Gizmo go to the bathroom in here?
I think it's Chris, actually.
Okay. Anyways, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, is that why he?
Not this last
he was
weekend,
airing
but the
it out.
weekend
He
before.
just brought it back in.
You kind of skipped out on the podcast, so.
Production staff.
Yeah, I hear there's a lot of talk versus wish casting and forecasting.
Yeah. So what happened?
Well, first of all, let's clarify. Wish casting, I never want there to be this outbreak. As storm chasers, we don't. I mean, if there aren't tornadoes, it's a good thing because people's homes aren't hit. There's not loss of life. But as storm chasing, as human beings, we can't control what happens with Mother Nature. All I know is if there's a tornado there, I'm going to chase it, try to collect data in it, and call and help warn the people in the path of those storms. But I honestly thought that last system was going to be an outbreak. I mean, it had a really wide warm sector that was uncapped. The photographs looked favorable for tornadoes, and it looked over a wide area. It was that time of year. I'm obsessed with this climate model thing too, so it was all in line with my climate model. And I get obsessed with little parameters like low-level shear and think that if you have enough shear, it can make up for lack of buoyancy. But the models were all over the place of this thing too. They changed the day before, the day of. It was whether it was a cutoff system or an open wave. And I think one thing to realize when you're forecasting outbreaks is when you have a big trough, you should always look at the flow on the back side of it. If there's a lot of flow on the back side, the thing's going to dig, and it's going to lead to a more favorably sheared environment instead of the one that evolved then. But this is a cutoff system, and it didn't have much flow on the back side. And I think it's difficult for models to forecast those systems, like when do they become cut off? When are they open waves? And this one I think it evolved exactly the opposite that the model showed. But the definition of an outbreak is that you need 6 tornadoes over a region, and that was forecasted an outbreak. I mean, I obviously way overblew it, but is that a problem?
What do you think happened? I mean, that day. I mean, what do you think prevented the atmosphere from having a tornado outbreak?
Well, I think that the trough wasn't as progressive as it was forecast. It hung back. It got more cut off. The upper level winds are more south to north, and so the dry line that's also oriented southwest to northeast, you get flow parallel to it. And for supercells, you need those storms to move off the boundary, or else you're going to get a line and you're going to get storms interacting with each other and they won't be isolated. And so on that day, what we needed was more westerly winds at higher levels, which will push the storms off the dry line. And on that day, the trough held back, and we had southerlies all along the boundary. So you had all these storms just slamming into each other that would almost produce a tornado, then slam into a storm.
Yeah.
But I think that we were off on the timing by like 2 hours. I think if the trough would have ejected faster, the upper level winds would have veered, the storms would have moved off the warm sector, and the shear was there. There was 70 knots, probably just above the ground, especially near sunset. And that didn't happen. But you may have noticed further south in Texas, where you had that veered upper flow, you had a bunch of tornadoes. That one to the east of College
east of
Station was a
Austin.
tornado producer. And so it went differently than what we thought. But the key is when you mess up a forecast, the haters, they come out in spades. Look in hindsight,
But it sounds like you've learned from it. You learned something. That's what you want to do.
But then you know what? The next time the same system will happen.
No, what I mean is not learn from it, like not learn to, get. I'm not saying you made a mistake. I'm saying that you learned something from it.
The mistake was posting 6 days early that there's going to be a widespread outbreak. And
okay. Well,
I was the first to admit that I was wrong with that. But I mean, people.
Okay. Well, but what I'm saying is what you were talking about earlier. With you, you said how the, if the flow coming from behind isn't there, it's not going to dig, and you're going to have. Unfavorable parameters as a
and they're
result.
just difficult to predict with the models. I mean, the models are based on physical equations that, that represent what happens in the atmosphere. And when you have a trough with uniform flow in it, nice open trough, those physical parameters are easier to represent with a model. But when you have a system that doesn't have much flow on the backside, the vorticity advection is not much, because when you have a donut hole or a cutoff low, you have no vorticity advection because the wind is not, it's parallel to the vorticity isotherms.
Right.
And in that case, the model doesn't know where it's going, how fast it's going to eject, when it's going to get picked up by the jet stream. So I think what we learned is that when there's a cutoff system, first of all, don't announce 7 days in advance it's going to be a huge outbreak. And also realize that even the day of, things can change.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is overhyping or whatever, people should still have a safety plan in place well in advance and prepare for that worst case scenario that might emerge.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, and in Tuscaloosa, we talked to a lot of people that knew there was a tornado warning in place, and they didn't take cover because they just thought it'd be another puddle jumper when that would miss their location. But when a tornado warning is issued, you've got to treat it like it's the worst case scenario.
Is that
Look
Joel?
who's here. Joel's here. Wow.
Joel just got back from Nebraska. Actually, that was last podcast. But
Joel, come say hi to everybody here.
Why didn't say hi, Joel?
Yeah, Joel.
Joel purposely wears it.
Joel, tell everybody.
Tank. There he is.
There he is.
Hey, Rick.
Good to see you, Joel.
I've seen you in a while.
Have a seat. Just want to be on the. Joel, have a seat. But you may notice how. You may notice how Joel conveniently shows up at the timing of the podcast wearing his muscle shirt.
Yeah, there it is.
Zoom out.
Makes us all look like.
I think Joel might have an itch on his stomach here in a second. It's kind of a maybe something on his arm, just some kind of little.
So what do you think about tomorrow's
Little itch he needs to
tomorrow's
scratch.
event? Cat bust?
I didn't even look.
Yeah, I didn't even
Is there an event?
A lot of people are saying that we removed you from the team. What, Chris? I can't read your hand verbals, buddy.
You have a bike?
Yeah. So what I learned from Joel said that, or some people on Twitter are saying that you didn't get kicked off the team, you left at your own will. But they're saying that the reason is because you've gotten bigger now and could physically, hurt me if I said And you could, if that's what you want to do, if you want to resort to that level, you can. You hurt me right now on the live stream. I would just run. So to me, it's not worth it. But yeah,
He would run and change his story later. I think that's how
Really surprisingly,
that generally works.
He's got really good endurance, I guess.
I'm in good
It
shape.
doesn't work out for 6 months, then he'll go out and run with me, and I'm just like, I'm struggling to keep up.
He just has willpower, is what it is.
It's willpower and paint tongs. I like that one time we first ran, and then Joel started vomiting, on the ground, and it was like mile 4 or 5, and it was Yeah, poor guy. I felt bad for him. But he has asthma too. So, but yeah, I think that insecurity from that run probably led you to work out and then, look like the belldozer at OU.
Joel cares more about his abs than storm chasing anymore, right?
Did you see the Texas game last week?
I didn't.
Good point.
I didn't.
Texas
was
fan?
Jason.
We all went to OU here. We've got one Texas fan. What do you think about, over the last, 14 years I've been in school? It's a long time, I know, but we've hung 50 on Texas at least 54 times, 63 times, right?
When was the last time you guys won a national championship? Though I can't remember. Texas was 2005.
We have 7 of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we had the last one. I think.
Didn't you guys?
The greatest game of college football ever played.
Did you guys lose to Baylor?
No, they didn't.
No, we beat them.
Oh, they did.
Oh, it's just
Squeak by.
they squeaked it out.
There is a Sooner supporting Mac Brown fund.
I hear Mac Brown. Oh, support Mac Brown.
No, you don't want to keep him.
We need Will Muschamp back. He's dominating Florida right now.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
Mac Brown, I gotta get.
Can you pull your microphone out a little bit so we can hear Joel?
That shows
Oh,
that
yeah,
maybe
sure.
Muschamp is kind of was the brains behind all that. I mean, you guys got some problems. Or I shouldn't say you guys because you're obviously in it. Joel's the biggest OU fan.
It'd be hard not to win with Vince Young and then Colt McCoy, but
What if Rick Thomas was quarterback?
Our defense,
At Texas? They
our
come back
defense
closer games?
sucks. Sure. That defensive coordinator Diaz, whoever he is, he's got to get fired.
All right, so let's get over the
Let's go back to severe weather.
the now unimportant game that was last week. Big Tex burnt down apparently, and the Dominator one was down at the Texas Fair, which is kind of funny. But yeah, this trough, if you guys go to twisterdata.com, pull up 500 millibars, you can go to the NAM model, for example, on the top. It stands for North American Model. Right now I'm looking at the 18Z run, and looking 30 hours out is the Wednesday forecast. And this trough right here is something that the models can handle pretty well. It's a large-scale trough. It's an open wave. It's got a lot of flow on the backside. If you have that strong jet streak on the backside,
That's what we're looking for.
that means that thing's going to dig. The problem with this one that's a little different is it has all these little lobes of vorticity that are rotating around, almost like a multiple vortex tornado, except on the synoptic scale, and then fractal theory it's called. But this lead wave here causes the front to become northwest to southeast oriented, which Joel hates front orientations that are even close to parallel to the upper flow. We've seen some tornadoes when the cap is strong and you get that balance. You can get isolated storms if it's not perfectly 90 degrees to the boundary.
So what are you thinking tomorrow? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Storms don't fire till after dark. Cap bust. Southeast Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin, or western Wisconsin.
Wow, someone's taking a gamble.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it right now. Look at that warm nose right there. I mean, it's just that's just
Give you
gonna
a warm
suppress.
nose. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but no, you're right. Yeah,
I think storms will fire. I don't know if they'll be surface based. I think there'll probably be some warmer advection, elevated storms after dark.
if you guys pull up SIN, which is convective instability, CIN, you can see it, a cap, and the clear color on there is when there's no cap. And in this case, I mean, there's a very skinny, narrow axis of instability, but also the storm motions are almost parallel to it too. So, I mean, they're going to be in an uncapped environment for a while.
Sorry, it's my phone.
It's kind of this is a serious deal.
One more little singular tune, I think. One more.
We could tell someone
slow it
had.
down.
We could
It
tell we have a
it down.
greenhorn here with
where's
podcast.
the outlook, or where's the biggest threat tomorrow?
I haven't looked.
Southeast Minnesota, western Wisconsin,
I
northeast
don't base
Iowa.
my storm chases off the Storm Prediction Center. I like to do my own analysis. But, I
think-
can pull
I mean-
the SPC up.
Are you guys gonna go chase this, or are you just gonna
I would,
update
except-
warnings on Twitter?
I have to go to a speaking event for Discovery Education in Idaho, but these guys are chasing it.
Idaho
Boise, Idaho. Yeah.
We are?
There are schools across the country.
tomorrow?
Not just
You're leaving tomorrow?
chasing
Going to Idaho?
Yeah, let's go.
Wow.
I'm never home. I mean, I was in.
I've never been to Idaho. Have you been to Idaho before?
See, one of the only states I think I haven't been in now, but.
You've been to Montana. I know you can storm chasing.
But we're going to talk, for Discovery Education, we talk about the digital content in the classrooms and our side. We try to get nerds. I was a nerd in high school, late bloomer, collected insects. I was the guy on the edge of the playground with a bug net that no one talked to. And I was like that until I was like 16. So this is great because I get to go and it's
You
fun.
say that like there's one at every school. We didn't have a guy with a bug net.
Oh, you do? You probably just didn't notice him. So everybody noticed me. There was one time I was out catching bugs, minding my own business. And I was like 5th grade. I look up.
But
and
the bugs didn't feel that way.
I saw 100 people coming down this pathway. They're all like, Rita, like if that would hurt my feelings, And they're all coming after me. So that was where the endurance came in. Is I just started running, and I have the whole school chasing after me the whole time for no reason.
It was very like Forrest Gump kind of youth.
You've got hundreds of people with self-esteem issues chasing the guy minding his own business, trying to catch insects, not hurting anybody.
I was the same, but I was with weather shirts. I had like a lightning shirt and a cloud shirt. That I wore to school.
Joel nicknamed himself Hurricane Joel when he was younger.
Nicknamed yourself?
Like all these people, they'd make fun of me, but then like in class, they'd copy off me. In math class or German or whatever.
You had what kind of shirts? You had like lightning shirts?
Yeah, one had it'd have like a big lightning bolt on it. I had one that had all the clouds and the names.
You must be a Brett Favre fan too, right? We were just talking earlier how you might be kind of the Brett Favre of storm chasing. Only show up for the Super Bowls.
I like the guarantees.
It's probably smart. You got to be a freak to drive all the way up to the Canada border for a 2% dam. I mean, the odds aren't in your favor.
I think I saw about as many tornadoes as you guys this year.
No, we saw like 40 this year. We saw a lot of tornadoes, actually. I mean, it was in territory that you'd be unhappy to be up. I mean, when we were in Saskatoon, Canada, and I woke up and all the bank accounts were negative.
All right, let's talk.
You're at the northern end of the road. Oh,
Let's take some questions
we
here.
can keep going though, time-wise.
No problem.
Tanner here. What is SIN and EML, and what does it have to do with tomorrow's setup? Tanner Schaaf, I think. What's SIN and what's EML?
All right, you want to take SIN?
Convective inhibition.
If you need help, let me know. You've been out of the game for a while.
It's the cap. It's the cap.
That's the aforementioned and oftenly mentioned cap. You do want to have some cap to a certain amount because you don't want there to be, just a whole load of
Depends on the shear, though.
thunderstorms.
Like April 27th, for example, there was no cap, and which is a horrible situation. You have no cap over a large area.
Right.
But when the shear is perfect for tornadoes, then you get 50 storms all producing wedges, and they maintain their discreteness because the shear is so perfect. You don't have a front that's cleaning it through.
So in absolutely ideal conditions, you really don't want any cap at all.
I think that when you have to have a storm develop, you need a cap.
Right.
But then once the mesocyclone gets going and then the anvils spread out, you naturally get kind of a decoupled environment around it. And decoupled means when you get a cap that develops, instead of being well mixed, you get weaker winds at the surface, and then you get strong winds just above the surface. It gets decoupled from the surface, and you get more low-level wind shear. And that's why you get more tornadoes near sunset and after, because you get established mesocyclones, they're rotating, and a cap develops around them, and the mesocyclone has pressure perturbations above and below it. It's called dynamic piping. They always mock me about this. But a mesocyclone has the ability to drill down into a cap and maintain surface-based characteristics for a while until the cap becomes so strong that it gets choked off. But in this case, the cap is so skinny over a narrow axis, and the cap is very strong just to the east that they'll likely get choked and won't have time to get supersonic structures. But the other one, EML, is elevated mixed layer. That's above the cap. You want steep lapse rates with height. Lapse rates are the rate that the temperature of the atmosphere cools with height. And the most unstable configuration is one where you have warm, moist air at the surface and very cold air aloft. So imagine a balloon starting at the surface with a given temperature. That temperature is conserved throughout its flight, and as it's going up and it has cooler air around it, the balloon is relatively warmer than its surrounding air and it rises faster. And that's how CAPE works. But with SIN, or negative inhibition, the balloon goes up, starting at the surface, and it hits that warm air just above the surface, which is neutrally buoyant because the balloon hits it, and the air around it is warmer than the balloon, so it goes down. And that's why it's negative convective inhibition. And you need that balloon to be able to bust through that area of warm air and get to those steep lapse rates, or elevated mixed layer, and let it rip. All right.
Hey, they said that we never finished tomorrow's forecast. What do you think about tomorrow?
Sorry, guys, we have trouble staying focused if you haven't noticed. This is pretty much what the the editors are having problems. Tomorrow's forecast.
What do you think?
Let's look at the shear now here.
I mean, there'll be severe weather either way. It's just
There's
weather.
a lot of
Grab
wind
some more
shear.
apple juice.
There's a lot of wind shear tomorrow. I think the wind shear is maximized from Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota into Iowa, and let's see if the front advances fast, because it doesn't advance too fast in 6 hours, honestly. So I could see, hey, Hey, we're doing a serious news broadcast in here, Rick.
No, he's just, you can just hear him through his mic. Yeah.
Turn the microphone off, but
Oh, you got to turn the mic off.
I got it.
Okay.
What storm motion tomorrow?
It's going to be parallel to the boundary a little bit, but the cap is kind of strong, so they might be able to maintain discrete. And here you've got the realist, the invert wish
reality?
caster, see, that's not
I mean,
that's pretty good actually.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems, especially with a cold front, is if you get that storm motion right along where it's going right along the boundaries, your storms don't really start forming until the cold front. The cold
Overtakes
front
it.
basically all day is just undercutting the warm humid air, and that's what causes the storm to go up. It's not necessarily the storms busting the cap.
Yeah.
And even if the front's stationary, they'll just converge. The storms will never get super silent enough to move right off the boundary.
There's just too much. There's too much convergence right there, and you get storms going up pretty much all at once. And you see that a lot with cold fronts. There are examples, and I think the one that comes to my mind the most is it was the Stuttgart day, I believe, in Oklahoma. They had big tornadoes.
Pitcher tornado.
They had big tornadoes in Oklahoma, but you also had 500 millibar flow west southwest. It was really veered, so storms were able to kind of move off the front in Oklahoma and Kansas, and you ended up getting big tornadoes. Kind of a big surprise.
It's actually the opposite of what happened when we were forecasting that big outbreak in the OU Texas day. The trough didn't eject fast enough, so you had more south-southwesterly wind with height in Oklahoma. But if that trough had ejected a little bit faster, those winds would have been west-southwest and likely would have moved off the boundary and produced tornadoes. And I'm telling you, it was close. There were not many ingredients that were separating that day from being a regional tornado outbreak. But it looks like the NAM is not, the area that it develops storms by 7 o'clock is all up in Wisconsin, but that's up near where the surface low winds and where the surface low is and you have better wind shear.
Somebody asked how northeast Kansas is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be very isolated at best, and it'd probably be after dark, and the tornado risk would probably be. I think the cap's too strong for their southwest. Don't you? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Probably.
I do think there's a tornado threat in Wisconsin and southeast Minnesota.
Tomorrow?
Area. Yeah. I mean, after dark, maybe even 2. I think storms will probably. Hey! Can we stop with the ice in there, please? Are you kidding me?
Chittick.
I'll be sleeping in my room, and Chris goes and gets ice for his water I mean, he's like, it makes it so like obvious and dramatic. It's like, and I just woke it up. Are you kidding me?
To go back to meteorology a little bit, have you guys ever talked about why the spring season tends to be a lot more active than the fall season?
I was gonna ask that. That's an interesting topic.
Do you want to?
Probably because all the cold air aloft.
Back to tomorrow. Look at the hodograph.
Warm air aloft.
I think that's an excellent
trend to
Yeah,
dig back down.
The higher you go up in the atmosphere, the longer lag time, the response time between what's happening at the surface. So in the spring, you've still got really cold air aloft, and you start warming up the surface. In the fall, all the air aloft is
it's
still
warm.
really warm.
Yeah.
And the surface, it may warm up more, even the same or more as it is.
But
in the spring.
why is the air loft warm?
Because you've had all summer,
More heating.
column.
Heat up the whole.
You've been
It
warming
comes
up-
from Canada regardless, but I guess Canada there's no snowpack. That would probably be an issue in the mountains.
That's what I mean. Or is it maybe ocean?
A lot of it could be
Temperatures?
capping too, but you'd think you'd compensate because it also had the whole summer for the Gulf of Mexico to heat up. I think it's because the jet stream is more transient this time of year, and during the spring, I think it takes longer to seasonally move up, and then it's easier because the air is more dense when it's cold, and so I think during the fall, the mean polar front jet position goes down, doesn't reside over the U.S. longer. But I think there could be some snowpack. Capping is a problem today because the air that from cap level emanates from higher terrain, and if you don't have snow cover, that's heated air and you have stronger caps.
Right.
How much of an issue does that play farther south? Because when you're talking about cap over the Texas Panhandle or western Oklahoma, you're talking about what's happening down by White Sands, New Mexico, because your cap's coming in from the southwest.
There's a lot of snow down there in the spring.
You don't have snow caps down there. You do in north central.
Actually, you do. One of the furthest south ski resorts in the country is in southern New Mexico, and it's like one of the best spots to ski in April and May and stuff. There's some high peaks there.
You're talking about a very, very small area. Pull up a satellite image.
All you need is the ingredients just come together in one spot. That's all you need.
What about Sandy? Is this going to turn into another
Yeah, that's we got another question.
Halloween
What's Sandy
storm
gonna,
or like the perfect storm? Is it going to?
everybody wants to know
It's
what's
probably
gonna
gonna
I'm
be
hearing
tropical.
rumors about that being another one of those
Hybrids?
massive,
You gotta
hybrids.
watch out for those
Nor'easter?
hybrid storms. And it's like it's like the Gustnado tornado thing. We chased that tornado last year that was obviously a tornado and posted, and everybody ripped on us saying it was a land spout or saying it was a Gustnado tornado hybrid. But the hybrid, I mean, what is that? You classify things, and then I don't know, the Gustnado tornado hybrid thing is. First of all, they're both tornadoes. A Gustnado is just a different class. It's not a supercell tornado, but in my opinion, it was.
Gustnado is a tornado.
If a meteorologist doesn't know what something is, they call it a hybrid of two things, or a gravity wave caused it. And so they figured out that's gravity wave initiated.
Yeah, everybody's asking what your opinions are of Sandy becoming a historic hurricane from the Northeast.
Keeping us on task. That's good.
What do you think?
Rick is actually the tropical expert of the group, believe it or not. Rick,
I don't
Swing
believe
it
it.
over.
Rick, I know you've looked at all this.
No,
stuff.
well, I looked
Sure,
at the. You might want to pull up the GFS model. It's it had initially been taking things out to sea, and it looks like it's sort of recurving the storm back to the northwest, and so it might be some pretty heavy impacts for New England and northeastern, or I guess southeastern Canada.
That's a very interesting storm track.
Yeah.
Especially for this time of year, you'd expect it to just get.
I mean, there are some
Northeast.
forecasts that are even. They're taking a really powerful system, whether it be a hurricane or whether it be a hybrid,
Or
whatever,
Hurricane Joel.
They're taking it right into the heart of the Northeast, right into New York City. So I don't know. It should be interesting. I think.
And they say,
We'll see
I
how this
remember
thing
when we
plays
chased the hurricane there in the Outer Banks, Irene, there was this doomsday scenario painted in New York City where the storm was taking the perfect track, and then if you get that storm surge, even if it's a nor'easter, it's a very storm surge prone area there, west of Manhattan, kind of Hoboken area. We have a friend there. And if you get those easterlies, that are piling the water up, and the hurricane comes right up the Gulf Stream like that, it could be a disastrous situation. And whether it's a hybrid or an extratropical cyclone or a hurricane, it still can have the storm surges. We're gonna start hybrid extratropical cyclone / hurricane videos.net next. Whale's mouth.
He'll keep you updated.
Would you guys go after? Would you guys go chase that if it was forecast
would,
to be
so,
that powerful in the Northeast?
The problem is we have the SEMA convention. It'll be out in Las Vegas.
The what convention?
SEMA. It's like a vehicle convention. It's how it's the only way we can make ends meet right now, actually. But I don't.
So you guys are selling out, so you can't storm chase. Is that what you're?
You don't normally anticipate. I would skip my wedding for the right storm. So yeah, if it's the right storm, I can't broadcast it right now.
Perfect
I
storm.
think you guys will know where I'll be.
Got a
The
question?
thing about meteorology, there's always something new and interesting and to learn about, going on. If this storm takes this path that's forecasted by about half the computer models, it's something that I don't think's ever happened before, especially this late into the season. So, it'll be a case study maybe that we're talking about for the next, 15, 20 years.
And Hurricane Floyd is an example of one of these systems where it interacts with the trough that's coming in. Hurricane Floyd was one of the worst hurricanes in history in terms of flooding, from North Carolina to Virginia, and it just rained for days and days. And what happened is you have a polar front jet stream trough. The hurricane comes in, and when you have all that tropical air coming into the warm sector of a mid-latitude cyclone, which is driven by the temperature gradients, it goes nuts. It'll absorb all that moisture, wrap in more moisture, intensify the thing further, and you get this nonlinear intensification called bomb cyclogenesis, where the more rain that's produced, it releases latent heat. So you have more heat getting entrained into the system. You have stronger northerlies on the backside. You get more Canadian air getting pulled in. And it's 2012. I don't know about you guys, but I'm scared. Not overhyped, but.
Got a question from Jay Ricky09. He asked me, love all the pics you post. How much processing do you do typically before posting? Actually, I don't do very much post-processing at all. I just do levels, if you're familiar with that, and then a little bit of sharpening, and that's about it.
And you can do all that through Photoshop.
Through Photoshop. Yeah, it didn't take me very long. It takes probably like a minute or two for each photo, so not a whole lot of processing.
And I got a question here. Can you guys elaborate on gravity waves? It's basically what, if a meteorologist doesn't know what caused something, they blame it on a gravity wave. But actually, what it really is, if you can imagine a pond, and you drop a stone into the pond, these waves will emanate from that source. Disturbance, we call it. You have waves that go out. And in the atmosphere, it behaves a lot like a fluid. So if you have a cold air and then warm air above it, there's an interface because the cold air is more dense than the air above it. And that interface is just like an ocean surface or the surface of a pond. And the disturbance in this case is a trough of low pressure to our west. And just the other day, I saw all these gravity waves oriented to the low-level jet stream. And there are these wave clouds. And so you have the trough, that's the rock, and you drop into the pond, and waves will emanate out along those interfaces in the atmosphere. When you hit turbulence, those are gravity waves. And even if there's not a layer, you can have an area in between two layers, and the waves will propagate vertically, up and down. You could have mountain waves where the air is going up and over it, and that creates waves downstream. You get downslope mountain windstorms east of the Rockies.
And there are instances where gravity waves are what initiated a storm, and I think General Texas,
Was it?
the F5 tornado from General Texas was actually initiated by a gravity wave.
Really?
Because gravity waves will be at the surface, and you get a pressure difference and slight changes in wind speed, and it can lead to localized convergence.
There were storms the day before or something up in Oklahoma or Kansas, and that sent out the gravity wave, and it happened to cross just a kind of a stationary boundary there. And
When Joel does bench press, it emanates gravity waves that are initiating storms in Japan.
Got a question from Mike
It's not
Williams.
a butterfly flapping his wings there.
No, I'd say
Got a question from Mike Williams, but for Rick, actually. Rick, what do you do now? He wants to know what you're doing.
I am pursuing my PhD in the geography department at OU. And also, by my Twitter handle that we referenced earlier, I work for a food delivery service. I run their Twitter account. I do a
858 to go.
858 to go.
funny, I
do
get
a
tweets from
number.
858 to go, but it's basically Rick's personal.
I've kind of turned into my own personal Twitter account. You know, if I just said every day, you know, that you can place an order and get a free soda, I probably wouldn't have that many followers.
Miranda Grimes, Miranda4111 has a question here, and we can all answer this. What has been your best storm chasing memory so far? And emphasis on the word best. I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but
Our favorite day,
sometimes our best day, just best experience, I guess. But sometimes the best experience for me might be a worse experience for Rick, but kind of all relative. You liked it, yeah, and you're going to tell your grandkids that story someday.
Which one? The Floyd
Floyd
story?
story, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's
We made it out, you know, we got a taxi out of there, and Ernest came back. And what's your
And it
favorite
ended
memory?
well.
What's your favorite memory?
put you on the spot there?
May 3rd?
Apple juice.
I mean, favorite is a tricky word. I mean, May 3rd is the most
What's that? All right, commercial break coming up. Time coming up. Joel? No, I'm just kidding. Rick, go ahead there.
There's never going to be anything, you know, having the May 3rd tornado as your first tornado, there's never going to be anything that can top that.
Yeah.
Right, and, you know, so, I mean, I've had experiences with tornadoes that were you know, enjoyable. You know, just sort of being in a place where you see a tornado, it's not doing damage to anything. You just kind of see it on the horizon. It's, you know, it's nice to look at.
Question.
And
Have you ever had the situation where you had, like, let's say it's the #1 food delivery 858 to go has to offer? I mean, this is big time. It's like Chili's catered to, like, Chesapeake Energy or something.
right.
And then there's a tornado that you see off to the right, and the delivery's to the left. If you chase the tornado, you miss the delivery. If you chase the tornado, obviously you miss that. If you do the delivery, you miss the tornado. Which way does the echo go? Right or left? Your left.
The echo, what I would say about the echo is that it always makes the right decision. That's what I'd say about the
What
echo.
is the right decision, though, for you?
Well, I mean, it depends on, you know, there are a lot of variables involved. You know, I think.
Is there a scenario or you?
That's I feel like that's very linear thinking. You know, the echo doesn't really operate on. It operates on a variety of planes.
So you'll cut right down the middle of the fork and then keep both options in play as long as possible?
I mean, I have a variety of options. I mean, you could go
Quit both and go south? Joel, what's
do
your best?
something completely different.
Actually, this is going to be a rare occasion, or this doesn't happen very often, but I'm actually going to give Dick kudos on this one. My favorite tornado
I wasn't
Modal?
there, all right.
is Battle.
I
The Battle
was
storm.
gonna say
I mean,
my
that
day
was
too.
perfect. And Rick took a picture on that day that captures the Dominator.
Dick.
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 Jeez.
Dick and
No
Rick,
way.
it's there's difficult.
I got water for you every morning.
It wasn't always cold.
Dick was driving the production vehicle back then, so he'd do the probably most difficult jobs of capturing that follow shot.
But Dick took, I think, one of the, my most favorite picture,
think
weather
that's
picture of all time.
It's Joel Taylor flexing in front of the tornado,
It's
right?
the Dominator.
Yeah, you posted
and
that
had this
yesterday.
Massive tornado, one of the,
I took
most
that. I
entertaining
took that while
tornadoes that's
driving,
ever happened.
actually, with one knee,
Yeah.
while Robert's hanging out the window. I just
No,
took that.
no, they didn't. That's the myth. That's
Yeah, that's the
obviously not
myth.
what
Yeah,
happened. Safety first, guys. Come on.
But
That's your favorite memory?
Yeah, that picture I think captures, everything
was-
I enjoyed about, when we did Storm Chasers on Discovery and
That
What was amazing about
that
that
was
tornado
amazing.
is it didn't harm anybody.
Yeah, it didn't hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
it hit
tornado
one.
in
It,
the middle of
it did a
nowhere.
little bit of damage, but nobody got injured or killed from that.
slow moving. It was
really slow
was
moving.
about the perfect supercell that you can have.
I don't.
Remember we were right next to it. The thing's expanding,
Yeah.
contracting. It started throwing
I
loons
never.
at us.
I
Loons.
know. I was just like.
There were loons getting thrown out of this tornado, and loons as in the duck, like the pointed
Yeah, they were
duck
flying.
thing.
I have them in my shot actually.
And then the other day, May 22nd, that's coming up in episode 8 of Storm Chasers, there were loons in that one too. And we're standing there, and Chad's shooting us. And suddenly he looks up. He's got this crazy look on his face. I'd never seen it, like crazy look. And he's like, Reed, look at the birds. Like this English accent came out.
Was that? Who was it?
Chad.
Chad?
He's like, Reed,
I think.
look at the birds.
Didn't I say
Now
that?
look up. Look up, and there's flocks of white birds going around in a circle all above us. Like the most birds I've ever seen.
Birds.
Like they're everywhere.
You see that a lot with tornadoes. What's
I
the
don't know.
reasoning?
Birds fly.
Are they
they
like
get
trying to get
sucked
out of
in.
the way?
These
they
were like
kinda get-
way up in the
Maybe
updraft too.
the inflow is, it's making them hard to get out of the way.
And you
so
know
they
what?
Kind of concentrate.
I think that's great to ask that question because it's the same reason why our parachute probes are pulled into the circulation. It's a low pressure. It's a low pressure center. All the wind is going in towards the low, and whether it's a loon or the beacon of science, it's going to get sucked into the tornado.
Wow. I feel like we should end on that one.
What's your favorite memory,
Beacon
Reed?
of science.
My favorite memory: storm chasing.
Kicking Joel out.
No, that was the worst.
Probably May 4th because that was the one time he was right, and he doesn't let me forget it.
Joel, I'll tell you what. If it makes you feel better about yourself, that I've only been right once, I'll take that. You're right. All right. The whole reason that we've seen tornadoes is because of Joel. Even when he's not there, he just kind of tells us where to go. But actually, one of my best memories, and this isn't coincidence. Well, it is a coincidence. Is the one that Joel wasn't there. Joel's in Vegas gambling, and Dave Holder and I got in his Hyundai Accent with a max speed of about 60 miles an hour. Thing sounds like a vacuum cleaner going down the road. And it took us 3 days to get up to Manitoba. The models can change a lot. Everybody said, "You're nuts." They're all scared of that imaginary line. You don't need to be afraid of the Canadians, I'll tell you that. But they're great people. Nicest people I've ever met. I love Canada. I mean, they're
Salt
awesome.
of the earth. Yeah.
And so we're going up there, across the border, and saw it was one of my first chases in Canada, and it was an insane tornado, bright white. We're in the Hyundai Accent. Dave's zooming the engine, and his eyes are about that big around. We stop. I get out of the car. The thing is crossing the road right near us, and the inflow was so intense. And I'm crouched down behind the Hyundai. I'm looking up and seeing small branches and like corn and everything getting sucked in. I ran out, and suddenly this voice in my head said, "You're about to get sucked in the tornado." And that's the first time that I felt like getting sucked in, but it's just that voice sometimes you have to ignore. Sometimes, not everybody, not recommended. So I run around the car, try to open the door to get in there with Dave, and it wouldn't open because the wind was so intense. So I'm pulling on this Hyundai, the wind's going everywhere. Scream, "Dave, help!" in this high-pitched voice. And all this seemed to drag on for like 5 minutes, but it was like 10 seconds. He kicked the door open, I got in there, and we gunned it out, and then watched.
He literally
the tornado
kicked it
stop.
like he took his
Yeah,
foot.
he actually went over and kicked. Dave gets, he turns into a, pretty much
When the
MacGyver.
pressure's,
when
when
it-
the
remember
pressure's on, yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but yeah.
It's not like you guys peeled out on dirt too. It was like.
That's just the Hyundai. He had it reversed because we're right in the path. When you see a tornado and it's not moving side to side, it's either coming at you or moving straight away. You want to assume it's coming at you. But in this case, I'm lining it up. And I'm like, that thing is not moving side to side at all. And so we decided to back up first, but then realized that the rain will wrap around the west side of the tornado and cut your view. So then it suddenly changed to we got to go forward. Dave puts it forward, lays a patch right in the tornado just to leave our mark. And boom. Actually, I had my first tornado intercept in 2005 in the Hyundai Accent. Not in it, but underneath it for protection.
June 29th?
June 29, 05, yeah.
I remember that.
The thing was one of those rotating nipples above with a ground circulation.
Rotating what?
Rotating nipple funnel.
Oh, okay.
And so we're watching it, and suddenly we hear the trees snap. Can you do that again?
A finger.
Could you? I posted
Little
it.
fingers.
I posted a picture of the face a while ago on Facebook, and everybody's
Should
like,
I do the face?
"Yeah, I gotta take the hat off and do it though. Put all your effort in this, because there is 500,000 people watching this right now."
500,000.
Well, my favorite moment,
Like 500.
same day as Joel, is probably the best day of my life. To me.
Rick's about to do the face.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Or should we do the face after the story? Because we don't want to.
Yeah, let's do
Go ahead.
let's hear the story.
Go ahead. I didn't hear. I'm sorry. Jeez. Go ahead.
please.
Go ahead.
No, it's
No,
okay.
go.
We'll save the face. We teased the face, and now you can tell the story.
May 22nd, like Joel, is my favorite day. It's an amazing day. Just it still doesn't seem real, actually. Seeing that wedge right there with the lighting on it, like the sun just hitting it perfectly.
You're
it's gonna be
welcome,
hard
by the way, for leading you to that tornado.
We actually lost you guys.
Joel, we had to pick up Joel at the gas station because we drove all night from getting our radar in Mississippi.
Tupelo, yeah.
Yeah,
We drove from Mississippi up to Aberdeen.
I came from Norman, and you guys came from Tupelo.
We,
right?
yeah, we made it there just in time.
You see Joel standing there like waiting to pick up. We pick him up. The storm's going. Boom! We get the tornado now. It's good.
All right, do the face now, Rick.
Guys, this is something I've been making Rick do. Where I place where he drinks more apple juice and situations. But this face, it's weird. When you see it, it's just you're to think, what?
Where
It's really
was
weird.
it born? Dr. Frank Gallagher, I think, was the.
It was probably born the same night that you burned down our house, almost. So
Oh yeah, a lot
one of
of.
those types of things.
lot of
Rick
things-
almost burned our house down my sophomore year.
I think a lot of things changed.
After
then.
our physics exams, we were throwing our notes into the gas fireplace, and
Did
Rick,
you get a zoom on that?
May or may not have been some apple juice involved in that
Rick
incident.
vacuumed out the ashes, threw
Hold
it
on
in
a
our
second.
garage, and almost burnt the whole.
Make
entire
sure
house.
viewers can see it here. Scaling, get a little zoom on it here.
What's he gonna zoom in on?
The face.
Oh, I was gonna approach the camera with.
Oh,
the
you were?
face.
Bring it on.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, let's just wrap up the forecast too, just in case we want to end on the face.
Okay.
Tomorrow, guys, I'd watch out. Southeast. Oh, you did the face anyway. We're gonna post that. Yeah, that was it. That was it. You put a lot of effort.
Yeah, that was almost passed out.
Did you rip your pectoral muscle? See, Rick's also obsessed with working out, but you got the two different extremes. You got Joel. Joel's in it more for probably looks / power. You know, I mean, he's not trying not to be the linebacker of OU or anything. And Rick is in it for just brute strength.
Yeah, I just
Farming strength, right? Is that what you're going for?
Farming straight.
want to
He
feel safe when I go to the liquor warehouse in Oklahoma City. Yeah.
With my atrophy, I feel dangerous, like even around it. Yeah. I know that I'm going to get beat up if somebody wants to, so I just run away, hopefully, and then try to.
It's starting to become. It's a little bit of a problem at this point. It's too.
You're just getting too strong.
Not too strong. Too bulky. It makes some things difficult. We can discuss that in another podcast, maybe.
Rick Gelsey used to be the point guard of our intramural basketball team that we named the Weather Channel back in the day. And I'll tell you what, the opponents did not fear us when they looked up at the schedule. But when they started guarding Pistol Pete, nobody could stop them. I mean, Rick would just light it up. It's like, it was great. Those are great
What's the
days.
forecast?
Joel's our third string center.
Let's get to the forecast here, buddy.
Okay, the photographs do look very favorable for tornadoes, but there is a really strong cap. So I'd say tomorrow there's probably going to be a narrow area near that surface low in southeast Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin, where there is a tornado threat. But overall, probably not much. You'll probably get a long squall line. But the next day, Thursday, I think Thursday actually looks potentially more tornadic than in Michigan, actually.
Really?
It looks like a textbook Michigan setup. I mean, the winds stay backed. They don't veer to southwesterly because the system's starting to mature. And if you look at a forecast photograph in Michigan, which is where Mommy lives, of course. Hopefully she's watching. She never watches anything that we do.
Does Mommy tune in for the podcast?
She cares
If I'd
more.
known that, I would have shaved.
She more rightly cares about our nieces right now and my sisters, and like that's how the mom-daughter thing goes, and they just forget about poor little old me.
That's why you always end up with the topaz and the.
Not easy.
All right,
Not easy being a has-been.
Maybe
is
she
it?
trusts that you can take care of yourself. She knows that you can.
All right,
She probably
guys.
just doesn't want to get stressed out. But yeah, the hotographs do look interesting for tornadoes in Michigan, and you don't have to have as much of a classic hotograph in the Northeast because the speed of the storm, you can still get the.
And we'll keep you up. He'll keep you updated through Twitter and Facebook. Rick, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, it was-
Joel,
it was
No, we're not
thanks
done
for popping
yet.
up.
I'm going to keep doing this podcast. It is very capped in Michigan on Thursday. But yeah, maybe Illinois. Illinois into southeast Missouri, I think, has a chance on Thursday for some severe weather. Beyond that, major snowstorm in southern Manitoba and into western Ontario. So for all you guys that want to get some whiteout video up there, I've got hours and hours of it from when I was 12 to 14, just snow, but it's just white. You can't see anything. Head up there. We might.
Can we get a forecast for the global south?
You're going to have to go to my website, forecastverified.com.
All right, guys. Thanks, Joel. Thanks, Rick. Episode 6 comes out tomorrow.
Make sure you watch episode 6. And I promise you guys, every cent that you pay on that site is going to food. I eat at the dollar menu every day. We are a grassroots operation. And to keep 12 people or 20 all putting together these products, the salaries through the whole year are so much that it's difficult. So all your support is much appreciated. It's going to good use. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to buy a suit and wear the same clothes, even the same underwear sometimes 5 days in a row. So you're helping us. You're only contributing to chasing.
And we won't be here next week. You guys will actually be in Vegas, so we'll.
Well, we're thinking about doing Friday.
Yeah, so we might actually do one on Friday. So we'll let you guys know through your social media and our social media.
And if this does turn into a big severe weather event, we'll do an impromptu broadcast.
Yep.
And
so-
Joel will likely, whenever he hears that we're
pops
doing a
in.
podcast, he'll show up with his muscle shirt on and try to get.
Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys maybe Friday or.
You are a beast. You can't fit in the Dominator.